Right when you are, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I will call our meeting to order and do a roll call. I guess maybe, Jay, are you gonna take over the secretary till we do something about it in the future? Or is Kelly for tonight?
Whatever you want, Mr. Chair. I think when we had that discussion last time, that the secretary should be a voting member. But I can take at least the minutes in the roll call if you'd like, and then we can go through the voting process. And honestly, I don't mind whether myself or Kelly were the secretary. Again, being that this meeting's recorded, minutes aren't going to be that difficult to accomplish.
All right, we'll deal with that after. So I'll call meeting to order and Jay will do the roll call.
Bill Neese.
Here.
Pete Kelsey.
Here.
Jason Weaver. Nita Kemp. And I actually see Nita just signed on. Hold on one second. Okay, Nita Kemp.
You're muted? Nope.
Nita, can you hear me? I'll let the record show Nita is present online. I do see her name here online. Elaine Nyberg. Mark Olson.
Here.
Linda Zilmer.
Here.
Kelly Nahuda. Ron Buckholz. Kay Wilson.
Here.
Mark Helwig.
Here.
And Jay Kozlowski. That's all. Oh, and from Northwest Regional Planning, Jason Allman.
Here.
And Anthony Nelson.
Public citizen.
Here.
Here.
Okay, so we have a panel. Was the certificate of compliance with open meeting laws filed?
Yes, it was.
All right. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United
United
States.
States of America,
This is hard. And to the
to
republic.
the republic for which it stands,
One
one nation, under God,
indivisible.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A lot of times that's spoken.
It's hard to do a little bit.
I think, let's just make a note when we, if we're having virtual that, I think we probably should take that off the agenda. That's kind of hard to do. Unless, once we get to have actual in-person, put it back on.
Morning moments.
Maybe we just need to do it more often.
Yeah, I like doing it, but boy, that was kind of garbly. And I didn't have a flag in my house
Agreed.
to go to. All right, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting from July 15th.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, is there a
I'll second that.
Okay, you
Um,
get that?
Mr. Olson, would they entertain just the minor amendment to the minutes to reflect that Kelly was absent the last meeting? Anybody else who was absent that wasn't in the minutes?
I think it'd just be easier to do that going forward, don't you, rather than have them redo it.
Okay,
And then we'll just note that on our meetings going forward.
okay.
Because it's only Jay and Kelly, right? Or do we also include Northwest Regional and that? Everybody that's, I guess, assigned to the committee and that's contracted, we should put on there if they're there or not. All right, all in favor of that?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion
I wasn't.
carries. Jay, was there any public comment that you got, either written or oral or phone or?
No, not at this point. There is one member of the general public that wouldn't be as part of the committee members for this that is present tonight. Do you have any comments to make?
I just wanted to sit in and go ahead and think fitting that because I don't have a vote, so I'm just voting on it.
Right, well, and this is the public comment portion for the comprehensive plan development committee update. So this would be the time for a non-voting member to make any comments if they so choose.
What is,
Once we get outside of this public comment, though, you would not be really able to participate in the discussion.
what is the plan? Can you define to me what?
Comprehensive plan?
Can you define to me the comprehensive plan?
Right, so the comprehensive plan is kind of a holistic approach to the future development. How we're going to update the process, be it an update of one of our initial plans approved. Just look at a variety of different topics, and I can certainly have you, look through a copy of the current comprehensive plan as you sit here tonight if you so choose, but to get into detail of this plan could be kind of long.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Jay, we got that reverbing going on with you and the other person again.
It's hard to understand.
Yeah. I don't know if you got too many microphones plugged in, if you unplug a couple or turn them off. Or...
Yeah, let me try. Huh. Will that one turn off? Push the buttons. No.
You were pretty clear on that speaker.
I don't know. I'll try to move some stuff around here. I do apologize. There's a couple mics on for sure.
Okay. Well, that was a little better, but the more you can unplug that you don't need, probably the better.
Yeah, we couldn't understand any of the conversation. I couldn't anyway.
No, I couldn't either. So could you give us a quick synopsis when you're done with the mics?
Referencing how I appreciate how being a public member or a public citizen, I don't have a vote. So I thank you for stating that. Being the fact that I don't have a say, it's being said, and acknowledging the fact that we'll go over. So I thank him for that, and then yeah, basically he gave me the paperwork to look over and or sit in as I sit in.
Still very hard. Could you maybe try moving that mic closer to you or something? Maybe that'll help.
Well,
Whenever I can speak up, I suppose to him, I can speak up. I thanked him for acknowledging the fact that I was a public citizen and that I did not have a vote, being that when you guys were voting on something that happened in the previous meeting, and I've had this happen a couple of times, and it was a concern of mine, as I've said in another meeting, when those of you vote, I don't have a vote, so and I don't know what happened in the previous meetings. So in order for me to be updated, obviously I have to sit in and participate, and then I become comprehensive. But with that being said, I thank him for stating what he stated and acknowledging that, and then he gave me the paperwork and showing me how much work it is. But,
Okay.
in reference to comprehensiveness, I'm comprehending what he's saying, and I enjoy it. I will enjoy my time sitting in.
Okay. That was a little better to hear.
Sorry about that.
All right. I guess we'll move on to number 2, which is the issues identification exercise that we did at our last meeting. If you go to that, that was the A through M issues that we went through, the big list and consolidated. So Jay was the one that kept all the minutes on it, and we were, by the time we got done, we wanted to see a written copy, so hopefully everyone got to go through it and see if that's what we intended, and then to vote on approving that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Bill?
I went through all of them, and from what I had left in my notes, I think Jay got it all right, except for one place where said there's very few of us old people left on G. And I don't remember that discussion. You go down, I don't think this is.
Oh, yeah, I did notice that too. Very few of you left.
I think
don't-
we should take that off.
Yeah, I don't have that in my handwritten notes when I went through it, so I think that was just something that got missed, so.
But outside of, there's a couple clericals, but that's just minor and clear that up later. But the rest of it, I think he got did quite a good job from all the hours of work he put in on this, so. To get it
Mr.
on-
Chairman,
Yeah, let Bill
I'm
finish.
sorry. To get it on the floor, I would, just to get it on the floor, I'd make a motion to, even though these were approved, that these are the ones that we approved.
All right, is there a second on that for discussion?
Linda would like to second for discussion, but I do want to pick up a few items before we just move on.
Okay.
Is that okay
Yes.
for discussion?
Yep.
In A, the very first section, the second to the last item, we have diverse school systems, plural. I think there was discussion about how many different public, private, different and tribal schools there are. So the way it's worded now, it makes it sound like only one system.
You want an S added there, right?
Yes.
Okay. That-
Jay, are you marking if we have changes? Are you going to keep track of that?
Jay, unmute.
I'm marking those changes. So on A, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th one, school systems.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
And then on
Plural.
B,
Yep.
get rid of old people.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Linda?
No, I need to spend more time on it, but I think Jay did a really good job of, it looks so good. And I just remember the process we went through to get this condensed, and it looks really good.
We can, I mean, if we do approve this, you know, that typos can always be fixed.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
on E, Jay, if you'd go to E.
Yep.
Let's see where it says, making sure that our water and air quality remain good or are improved, insisting on sustainable management of the forest. Then I think protecting the historic resources of the county for future generations should be in the bullet point prior to that. So if you could just copy or, you know, Control X that and put it in the previous bullet.
You're right, Jay.
Yep. Yep.
And then I think that Sawyer County Forest needs, let's see, we need to insist on sustainable management to ensure a balance between production and biodiversity would be a little more accurate.
Sounds good to me.
Where is that one, Jay?
Sawyer County Forest,
That's the second to last bullet under E.
right. We need to insist on sustainable management to ensure a balance.
Or we could just add it, balance between sustainable management, production, and biodiversity.
We could do that too.
Let's keep it, just add it at the end there.
Lily just voted on to do it.
What was that?
Lily, didn't you hear Lily voting?
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
right.
So Jay, on that second to last one, just between and production, put between sustainability, comma, production and biodiversity.
That works for me.
Okay.
And then On G,
Yep.
I'm waiting for Jay to finish there.
Yep.
Go ahead.
He's ready.
Okay, on G, the name is Mary Ellen Baker, not Bakers.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even catch that. You're right. Yep.
There you go.
Okay.
That's all I had. Otherwise, I thought we did a good job, and thanks, Jay, for combining all of that.
Yeah, you did a heck of a job for my handwritten notes to get it to this point, so I agree.
Hey, we are erasing elderly citizens, although they are very few left. We're getting rid of that, correct?
Yes, we are.
All right, thank you.
We can just substitute Phil Neese for that line.
I'm the only elder here.
Well, there's only one.
All right, anyone else have any, other than typos, any other items to change or look at, discuss on there?
Yeah, and Steve had another valid point. I don't know if you heard him. Why don't you go ahead there again, Steve?
Under section H, bullet point 3, towns and adjoining communities,
Oh,
not
yeah.
adjoining.
Right.
Yep. All right.
I'm thinking that must have been on there from before, because I had the Word version of this, which I basically cut, copy, paste, and added what we've done with our notes previously, so good catch on that one. So we do have I'll let the chair step back in, but you still could approve this with the changes discussed.
Yep. All right, we have a motion to approve and a second. Is discussion over? I think we got her. If so, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving?
Aye.
I
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we got that one under our belt. Okay. So now we're moving on to the next issue that we haven't started yet is the policy and action review, to go through all the policy statements and action statements that are in the current plan, which Jay sent the PDF with the agenda. I guess, I don't know, does Northwest Regional have, with your experience, other than going through it line by line, that's the only way I think I see how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, typically we would have work groups. We would have the committee broken out into several groups and they would take on an element. In this format, that's not practical. So what we did in Douglas County was we basically just had the committee go through the action items, the policy and action items, and just first identify what's been completed.
Yep.
If there's been progress on it, if it's moving forward in some way, shape, or form, just pull those easy, low-hanging fruit type items out of there right away. And concurrently looking at the actions, again, kind of giving them a good look through, but for having a feel for what's going on in the county and making a call as to whether or not they're even relevant anymore.
Yep.
So, you know, and that doesn't have to require a whole lot of effort. I mean, it can be done relatively, let's say quickly, but I mean, it can be done in a reasonable time frame to take a look at that. Before we even start talking about putting anything new into this table, let's figure out where this is at, where it is right now. So my recommendation is if you're going to do this as a group, it's pretty tough to do in a format like this, unfortunately. You know, we were able to pull it off in Douglas County, but their policy and action items were pretty, I don't want to say concise, but I think it was relatively easy. And the committee had a good feel for where these actions, or where the actions that were identified, where they were at.
Mm-hmm.
So it really takes, some of these you may look at and say, well, I really don't know. I don't know if we've been seeking federal funds to address housing needs as shown in Action 3 here. And you may have to get input from the outside. You flag those too at the same time to say, okay, we need to ask somebody who's involved in the housing side. Can they give us some perspective on this? And is it something that we should carry forward? I also asked that in Douglas County's case, and maybe you want to do this the same way, is recommend sections of the plan that are relevant to a particular topical area, like natural resources, to have the forestry staff go through that information and provide, give them an opportunity to take a look at it. It's another way to try and break this up a little bit, because normally we'd be sitting down in a meeting room and we'd be going through these sort of line item by line item, which again, it can be done virtually, but it just is a little more time consuming. But that's my first recommendation in looking at these at the high level, is pull out what is really no longer relevant at all or has been completed. And then we can start talking about putting in new policies and actions. Because the exercise you just completed, the issues identification, provides the framework for us to make policy and action recommendations. So we're going to take that information, now that you've approved it, go through that, see what matching programs we may have, to develop draft action or policy statements for you to approve or not approve, but consider at least. And this is our sort of what's already, this is the game plan as it is right now. So that's kind of where I would suggest going with this exercise. But it's tedious. I'll give it that. It is a tedious exercise, but it's a necessary part of the plan update.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Phil.
I spent probably 2.5 hours going through all of these. And outside of eliminating, it's all boilerplate. This is about my 5th comprehensive plan. So, and they're all very similar. And when you go through, most of it is very generic. And outside of eliminating the date of 2010, because all of these basically are ongoing. So I guess I find very little, if everybody's done their homework, which I did. The dog didn't eat my homework, okay? So I did not find anything that either was out of date or may not be coming up in the future that we should be looking at. And I guess I would put it out to the committee, if you look through, is there anything within these 10, 12, 20 pages outside of taking out 2010 and so forth, that somebody sees, rather than, it's very difficult to sit here and go through. If we're together as a group, it's a lot easier to go quickly through line by line. This way it's not, I'm sorry. And but I found that this would be very complete, frankly.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Linda Zilmer. I want to go back to something that Jason had said about sending some of this to, say, department heads or departments, and I had previously suggested committees of jurisdiction to review and to provide more information to the committee. And then in the minutes that we just approved from July, this thing about sending things to department heads got reversed. So can we talk a little bit more about that? Because I do want to have county committees and or department heads provide input before we just make assumptions on what to maybe remove or change.
Yeah, I see Phil's point, because I've done, I think this is my 4th time going through comprehensive plans, different updates and rewrites also. Looks awful familiar to the information that's in the town of Bass Lake one, a lot of this stuff, except the substitute county for, but other things that, we don't have highway, a highway department, but we have our own local highway guy. But I'm struggling with this, sending it to the committees of jurisdiction, because you look at how many I mean, basically, you're sending it to every committee, and they sent it to us to do, and I mean, I guess, Jay, I'm asking a little for your input on this, being you deal with the county board and all the departments too. What your thought is?
Yeah, and I mean, last time we had that discussion, there was the rescinding of the action to send this to department heads and committees of jurisdiction. Now, sending this on to committees of jurisdiction to work through the action and the policy, this will take several months, if not half a year, to get through that portion alone. Now, do I think it's a good idea to speak with those department heads to, gauge where we're at on those specific action items? Yes, I think that would be a valid thing and something that would be helpful. But to sending it on to the committees of jurisdiction, again, they're ones that are setting policy. They're not the ones in the forefront that are knowing the daily operations that the department heads do.
Right.
So I would be opposed to sending it to committees of jurisdiction at this point, but would be in favor of sending it to department head.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Phil?
I would make a motion that we empower Jay to go to the appropriate department heads that apply within these last 10, 12 pages and get their comments. And before we go any further with anything.
Okay, so we got.
Well, I did my homework too, and I would like to put my input in,
Yes,
Phil.
please do.
Okay, sure.
We have a motion on the table.
I take it back off.
No, I'll second it.
No, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for discussion. Okay, now go ahead. We got the,
Well,
yeah.
there were some obvious things in the plan that I think we can take out. As far as what gets added in, I think that the department heads would be instrumental in what we might add.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I went through it too, and some of the stuff is obvious that, to continue to seek state, like I was just looking at action 3 on one of them, continue to seek state and federal funds to address housing needs. Well, we know that's going on. It's ongoing, and that one's kind of obvious. Some of these, but Jay brought up when I was discussing our agenda with him, there was one dealing with septic that I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was design the plan and basically get it online, which we did, but then there was some implementation that we haven't done yet. So part of it was done, part of it wasn't. So I can see where a department head would be able to give us that information, where on some of these other items that we don't deal with every day. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, Mark Helwig here.
Yep.
I'm on the Public Works Committee, and I think they probably wouldn't mind, or it's a good possibility, they would like to hear some of these items here, like under transportation. You have the county administrator, highway administrator on the, excuse me, on the committee there.
Yep.
And probably nice to be able to go over what the development roadway improvement plan is and stuff like that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Bill.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would suggest at this point that we need a department head before, if we were going to send it on to Mark's committee, if that's what he wants, we'll be fine. But until we hear from the department heads, we don't know what we're messing with here yet.
Oh, guys, I do agree with Phil originally saying that Jason should go ahead and be the head man and connect with the department heads, though. And that would, as Phil said, possibly go to the committees later.
Right.
Yeah, the department heads, I think, would be our best place to see if something has been done or not done, or if there's something new. Sending it to the committees. I was against Linda's motion, and then I was for the rescission of sending to them because this, they tasked us with doing it, and it is going to go to basically all the committees when our work is done. So that's where they'll have their discussion on it. So I think the department heads is great rather than the committees. Myself is just my feeling. So I'd be in favor of the motion that we're discussing right now of sending it to the department heads just to look through their sections and, you know, tell us if something's still done, changed, don't have jurisdiction, you know, just look at the issues that are, most of them are pretty simple for a department head to go through and do it rather than a committee, I think. That's
I
my
would
thoughts.
wholeheartedly agree with that, sir.
Okay. Any further discussion on that, or?
Some of these aren't going to, be applicable to department heads.
What?
This one, coordinate with Canadian National Railway and local townships. I don't know who the contact for CN is.
No, I guess what I would ask is, Jay, what I would ask is, we'll go through this list and we'll see which ones apply, which ones don't, and the ones that apply, we'll say send to them. The other ones we'll discuss. Yeah, I think.
Do we want to?
That's
We still have
kind
a
of,
motion on it. Do we want to try to go through some of these and just say, oh, hey, that's one that we know right away, we can just mark it as ongoing, and then say, oh, hey, that's one we want to send to the county forester, or that's one we want to send to housing authority. Should
Yep.
we go through some of these and at least knock some of them out as opposed to just asking Jay with sending all this information on?
yeah, that, I was kind of approaching this, like Jason said, that we'll run through it. And if there's anything that we don't know or think should be sent on, then we'll send it on to the appropriate department head. But yeah, my plan was to go through the list and, like I said, approve the obvious ones that we know are being done. I mean, anything dealing with the zoning issues, you're here right now. Some of them, like I say, like you just pointed out, that there is no department, that it's up to us to interpret and go from the stuff. So that would be the way I'd like to do it. And maybe if Phil would amend his motion that, or wait, or just table it till we're done going through the list and then make it, that the items we've addressed to send on to the department heads, or we can vote on it and say we're going through it and we'll send the applicable ones to the department heads, something along those lines.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Linda.
thank you. What I was thinking of is it might be helpful to send the existing lists as they are right now to the department heads and have them indicate to us what should or shouldn't be in there, rather than us trying to guess. Because right now, all Jay would have to do is take these pages just as they are and give them to department heads and say, what do you think? Give us feedback.
Well, I was just,
Ms. Zilmer.
go ahead, Phil.
I think I agree with her. I mean, I think it's an exercise of frustration to go through each one of these. And some of these, if you read them, it's like we're talking about Sand Lake and Winter and Village on a particular issue or something. And the department head, in the first place, most committees, the department head is their expert. And so rather than us, something we may think is, oh, well, yeah, it may not be at all. And so if we're going to wait, we'll be, in my opinion, be wasting a lot of time until we get the department head's opinion back on what is really doable, applicable, or gee, that don't amount to nothing. What's that in there for? So
Okay.
my motion's on the floor. So
Yeah, we're still in the discussion.
I know.
I'm not calling yet. Let's just, Jay's got the housing one up. Let's just look at objective 1 and objective 2 for discussion and see who these would go to. Action 1, assessors, zoning and health departments. Who are we going to send that to?
Mr. Chairman,
I just want to get an idea. County housing administrators, which department head are we going to send that to? Local units of government, who are we going to send that to? That's just my question. I got if anyone has any input on that.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, I was thinking is that the complete list for all areas would go to all department heads. And they could identify where, because there is some overlap between some departments, rather than try and figure out where to send them to. But yes, your question is valid, is how do we communicate to towns or outside of county government?
Yeah, I mean, we got the DNR on here. We got Town Lake Associations, UWEX. We got Town Sawyer County Developers. We got SUC, or UWEX, USDA. Okay, I follow what you're saying, Linda. I like that idea better, that we just send these 9 pages to all the department heads, and if they have anything that they have responsibility over and want to put in there, and then we can take their list when they come back and see if we agree and do it that way. Is that what you're kind of saying?
I'm sorry, Linda's right. There is awful lot of overlap. There's overlap in each of these objectives in different places. So by sending it all to each one would be better than trying to identify pieces out. So.
Yeah.
I'll also just say that, I mean, there are 18 pages of these, actions. You send 18 pages to a department head that has only a small section, they may overlook this whole thing and not even give comments on it, but I would hope that we do take the time and look through it. But again, I mean, department heads are one thing, but when it also talks about, other local units of government, I mean, are you wanting me to send these to all town chairs, all town clerks, all DNR staff, all UW extension staff? It becomes a little bit more complicated than just send it to department heads and get their input.
Yeah.
Can I make a recommendation? I wouldn't follow the responsible party list and send it to that group. Because the actions are Sawyer County's actions. And the responsible party can be a collaborator. It doesn't have to be a lead. It can be a collaborator. Ultimately, the county is responsible for accomplishing the actions that it does. So don't send it to everyone.
Yep. Okay, I guess my point is I'd like to, there's a motion on the floor and still discussion, but my first feeling when I went through all these, and like I said, there's quite a few members on our committee that have been involved in their town or at the county level of these comprehensive plan rewrites and everything, that I myself think these are so generic that we can go through them and do it ourselves, is my thought. And if there's something, like Jason said in the beginning, if there's something we think there's a question on or don't think we know enough about that, then maybe we'd ask. But I think we can tackle this myself. At least I've been through it enough that, and they're most of them are pretty generic. Support the Wisconsin Uniform Dwelling Code requirements during construction and rehabilitation. Local units of government. I mean, that's ongoing. It's going to be ongoing. That one's a check mark. It's in there. I think we could go through this and knock out a bunch of them, like Jason said, pick the low-hanging fruit, and then we can go back and assess the ones that we have remaining, is kind of my thought. Phil's first thought that he brought up before he made the motion is kind of where I'm headed, but Jason, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, if that's the approach you want to take, I was going to suggest alternatively or concurrently, I can also help Jay draft a letter similar to what we've done in many cases with when we provide the plan to outside jurisdictions or other departments on what we're looking for to help guide their process. So they're not just looking through 18 pages of material saying, what am I supposed to do here? I can work with him to do that too. So it's at your discretion, however you want to proceed. Those are the only real options we've got. Either go through the list comprehensively or send it out for review?
Well, I'm just one vote as the chair, but my thought is I would be against the motion to send it out right now to even department heads. I think we can tackle this and like you said, if there's something that there's a question on that, but I mean, when I went through this and really looked at it, there isn't a lot that's going to change. I don't think, at least my going through a few things here and there that were done or not done, but that's my thought.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Lynn.
thank you. I guess when I have been involved in comprehensive planning processes, I think the process is important and engagement, whether it's department heads or ultimately at the end, the public. And so to have Jason draft that letter so that they're just not getting that, you know, that big list and not knowing what to do, I think that better informs us.
Blue's blank earlier.
Yes, Mark. Oh, I thought, okay.
I apologize, guys.
Okay. Like I said, I don't think that it's necessary on my end. I don't think, and my dealing with government and committees and department heads and everything else, a lot of times they want to see your finished product, and then they'll tell you. If you get them involved early, you ain't gonna get anything back that's worth much in the beginning, and then when you get your final product done, that's when you're gonna get their input, is my feeling on it. And like I said, after reading through all these, they're so generic, and the whole county was involved when we wrote this initially, and odds are most of the same people are still in the same department. So, I mean, they were involved in the beginning, so we're just looking at, has anything changed in the last 10 years that where this goal is gone, or it's still ongoing, or it's complete? I mean, I think that's my feeling on it, but.
Mr. Olson?
Yes, Mr. Neese.
You know, when you read through this, and I was being a little flippant, but for example, just take housing, the first one up there.
Yep.
Encourage coordinating CDBG. I have no idea what that is, but I just got in this office that it must be okay because it's in there. We don't know what we don't know, and the problem is on the overlaps. And I think if we could put this together in the format, I would rather have the department head look at this quickly. It doesn't have to, you know, is this appropriate or not appropriate? Should there be something added or changed, or gee, CDBG doesn't exist anymore. And I don't know that, and you don't. So, and we're going to sit here and spend our time going through this when we really should have the input first. And maybe it's fine, but I have my motion and I will leave it there.
Yep. No, I agree with what you just said, that's where my point was in the beginning, that, you know, number 3, I know that one's still ongoing, done. You know, but I see your point on that I don't know what CDBG is either. That would have been one I would have said, okay, we got to send something out. But all right.
Mr. Chairman?
Any further? Okay, yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
that action 2 was one that I felt should be eliminated because I thought that belongs in the town of Sand Lake and Winter and Exlin, their own comprehensive plan, not the county.
Yeah.
So that was a low-hanging fruit for me to be X'd out. And the other 3 are perfect examples of what we want in a comprehensive plan under objective 1.
Yep. That was, you're kind of parroting what I was thinking also.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yes, Linda.
When this initial plan was put together, there was a lot of heated debate and a lot of mays changed to shall to make sure that the county plan reflected the individual town plans.
Mhm.
And so when you have community development block grant housing opportunities,
Now we know what it is. See,
it
we're
is
all,
generally in, in those communities that have the funds, or like Northwest Regional Planning now has the, kind of the umbrella fund. So I do think it belongs in there if we are going to stay true to how this was originally drafted, to reflect that it supports those individual community efforts. I wouldn't take it out.
well, yeah, I see what you're saying on there, but that would be if we have, whichever way we decide to go, we could have that discussion. But now, see, now we had one of our members knew what CDBG was.
And
Where,
I would add that there's been changes to CDBG programming, some fairly substantial changes since the plan was developed that may necessitate the creation of an additional action or policy statement. So in that light, it might actually be somewhat beneficial to, not more somewhat, actually be beneficial to get some perspective on this from somebody at the county level that would have cause to deal with the CDBG program or housing in general. So it's in that's not just the CDBG program. There are other programs that have likely changed as well. So they may be duplicated or discussed in the plan in some context, but they may no longer be the same program. So that's certainly is one argument for getting it out there for further review.
okay, Jason, let me ask you this then. With our motion that Phil has and we're discussing right now to send this to the appropriate county people responsible, and then the outside people, you'd work with Jay, but so you'd put a list together of the items that you guys think belong in which department, or you're gonna send them the whole list, or what was your plan again?
No, I think the idea of sending them the whole list is probably a good idea, because this is meant to be a comprehensive plan that's integrated. So we can't afford to have conflicts in areas, and some of the programs definitely overlap. So my suggestion was to put together a brief memo that outlines what we're looking for, describes what the department head or other designee in that department should do with this information, and how to provide that back, along with not just review this, but along with priorities for their department that could be integrated integrated in the comprehensive plan. Because there may be things that are going on that you, the committee, don't know about.
Right.
And so this is a good mechanism to get that perspective on what new items could also go into the plan as well. And
Okay.
it provides a vetting mechanism so that everybody sees it, everybody is exposed to it.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to reinvent the wheel and go through this and then send it out and then get it back and redo it again, like Phil was saying, 3 times. I'd rather do it once. So any other discussion? Otherwise, I'll call for a vote on the motion. Hearing none.
Can I speak, sir?
Yes.
All right, question for you in reference to housing and housing authority. I, Timothy James Carl, am a citizen of Hayward, Wisconsin, and I'm currently going through the housing authority assistance and what is available. And it's something that I had heard you speak of. Yeah, is there anyone we could send some of this to, or to give an opinion, I guess, or a reference to? I'm going through the process of the benefits that Hayward, Wisconsin has to offer. So as a citizen, I could give reference to how those at the housing authority are doing from a citizen's perspective, and how they are to work with, and how the program is set up, and how the program and what availability they have. And so far, to give reference to Jenny Snyder, who is not here, but I could speak on her, in reference to her. She's been good to work with. In reference to the benefits for the money that is available, it's something that she had spoke on. There's money not to be available, possibly, depending on how things worked out. But for me, for instance, we're in January, and my assistance going to be available to April, until April. So there's a time period there to where I'm an unemployed citizen currently, and also in reference to my health, and disability that's being assessed. I have income. I have no income. So, but I do have a resident. But that ain't not having income, and the housing authority not being able to help me until April. I mean, that's something of a concern that I have. Thankfully, I have family that's helped me, but there's a reference of time period there from January to April. I mean, I have April, January, or January, February, April, or March, April, May.
Yep.
March. Sorry, I apologize. 4 months. And then, 4 months of rent that has to be paid out of my mother's pocket or credit. So that's something just to give a reference to $2,000 of income that she makes that I do not, and or credit that she borrows that I do not have. Yeah, unfortunately, because the housing authority, I'm on a waiting list and a time period, how that works. But just to give you guys an understanding and assessment, just from a citizen's perspective, that's what I'm.
Yep. No, I appreciate the input. What you're discussing there, though, doesn't really fall under what we're doing. I understand, and that's something that, I guess that a department head would put, but the action plan that's listed in here isn't that specific to go into details like that, but no, that's a good perspective to hear.
Thank you. In reference to, I mean, if I could speak one more, I'm sorry to interrupt you. In reference to Sawyer County, I mean, you guys, when you have these meetings, I mean, I don't know where you're all located from, but is there a representative from Hayward, Wisconsin that's within this meeting from the town or the city?
I'd be the zoning administrator for Sawyer County, and that's kind of as the comprehensive development planning committee. We're looking at that overall plan, which you have in front of you.
Yeah.
For your specific topics which you were discussing, and I would have to go to a different department head as far as the housing authority, or even take it to that committee. Again, this is looking at the holistic overview of the update of that plan, which again is still having to go through several other committees of jurisdiction, as well as county board of supervisors approval before anything's adopted or finalized.
Okay, okay, so it's still going through the motion, and so I understand you there. But in reference to Sawyer County, this is Hayward, and so there is a difference, and I noticed how you separated some of those. I think it was Linda who spoke on that in reference to the housing that's available in other cities or townships. Sawyer County is not Hayward, Wisconsin, so to reference the head of Sawyer County, it's different in Hayward, Wisconsin, even though Sawyer County is based in Hayward. That separation needs to be defined in reference to personnel, I would state.
Hayward is the county seat, but yes, the county represents, many towns and cities of, just to clarify.
Yeah, no, I understand Sawyer County represents all townships within Sawyer County. I'm just saying having a representative from each township within the committee that you're speaking of.
We have a pretty diverse group. I mean, that's what the county board is representing all the different areas. So we're just a committee, and we are a diverse committee. So
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but we're getting off topic, and I understand and appreciate your input, but we got to get back on. I guess I will call for a vote on Bill's motion to work with Jason on the letter and where it's going to, as we discussed in there, asking them for with Jason's input on what we're asking them to do and who to send it to. I guess that's the crux of your motion, Phil.
That's it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries to, I guess, basically table the, well, not table the item, wait till we get the input back to pursue this item then. Is that where we are? We aren't going to go through it tonight then.
No.
No, that's where we're at right now. I agree.
Okay. I guess then we'll move on to number, get my agenda back up. Number 4, review and approve existing land use map 2020. I would preference going through number 4 and number 5. I'm a big town guy where I think they have the say in, well, number 4 is fairly easy. What's there is there, and it's been identified. But when we get to number 5, the future land use, I guess I'll bring up my next point. But let's go to number 4, review and approve existing land use map. If you pull that up in the link they gave.
You missed it.
So I'll give you some context here.
Okay.
All right, in the previous plan, under the land use section, there was a existing land use inventory completed and a map created to depict that inventory. We updated the map using more resolute information than was used the first time. I won't go through all the details, but there's a compilation of satellite-derived imagery showing agricultural areas as an example. The land use has been classified and reclassified to show how it was being used based on our interpolation in 2020 to the end of 2020. Now, in reviewing the existing land use map, I would suggest we don't, or you don't necessarily try and approve this unless you want to at one shot, and rather focus on giving it a more comprehensive look over. There's a lot going on here. It's a big map, and I don't know if everyone has had an opportunity. I know this hasn't been published for an extended time period, but I don't know that everyone has had sufficient time to examine the map in detail, because ultimately we do want to make this as accurate as we can. And I think there probably are some questions on commercial, as an example, if we've got all of those in the correct locations. But I think largely the balance of it is not of significant concern. I think we're pretty accurate there. But it is worthy of review.
What I would ask Jason is, like we did on the other one, I kind of zoomed in on Bass Lake, which I'm the most familiar with.
Yep.
And I was thinking as I was looking at it that we just updated our comprehensive plan not that long ago, but we got our maps from you guys that we put in our book, and we went through them. That maybe this fall, I guess I would ask the board or our committee, does this fall in to, like we just discussed, that let's just send the map to each of the jurisdictionals, send one to the town of Bass Lake, send one to the town of Hayward, and see if they agree, and send it back to us within a certain time frame? Or is it worth getting down to that minute detail? I know it becomes an issue because I deal with zoning issues a lot, that if something's wrong on this map, it makes it very confusing when you're doing a conditional use permit, a rezone, or anything else. So these maps really got to be really accurate. So,
well, this one, you might be confusing this one with future land use. That's the one that needs to be verified by.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be my point on that one, but it's also very important on the current land use, although Jay would have the accurate information in his computers and stuff, but.
Yeah, and we've integrated that information. He sent me the information on land use changes, and we went through parcel by parcel and recodified to match the updated information. So that's why I said I feel pretty comfortable that we've got the existing land use pattern pretty well defined.
Okay, so I guess that goes back to my
Mr.
original
Chairman?
point.
Go ahead.
is it worth sending to the towns, or is this something it's what's on the ground in the zoning office?
Mr. Chairman, why
Yes.
can't the regional plan commission go to the town and extract their map? Because like we just redid our whole
So did we.
and brought everything up to date. So why can't they go grab it and use it?
I wish it was that simple. Because each town used these plans were done at different times and they used different data sources. So what we did was we tried to use the same data source for everyone to make this manageable, for one thing. We did look at the existing the existing land use maps from the communities that we have plans for to make sure that they aligned, and they looked like they were going to be just fine. So nothing.
Well, I look at my town and the commercial is missing.
Yeah,
There's for Bass Lake too.
Yep, there's probably going to be. That's why I said the commercial is the only one that's probably going to be hanging.
No, the town of Bass Lake map matches nothing. It's like what's there. I don't know about my lake, but ours is. It's not. That is not.
No.
That is very, very. It doesn't represent our town. It really doesn't in the land use. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Linda.
Linda Zilmer here. First of all, yes, I think there is value in sending this to the towns, but I know that there's going to be questions as to why this map does not look like the ones that they have from before. So I think if Mr. Lauman could write up an explanation of the detail of how this was developed. And then I also have a concern with what's in the zoning department. I would imagine it's more like zoning codes. And as I understood what these land use maps were, they're not zoning maps, they are existing land uses. So
Right,
they're,
well, that was my point, that anything where a land use went through anything in zoning that changed from the original time probably is more accurate than what was on there. So, but I agree. I looked at, like I said, the town of Bass Lake one, and it looks a lot different than the one we just did a year and a half ago. So, like Phil said, I don't know how hard would it be to explain. Because I mean, I'm on the planning committee in the town of Bass Lake, and I can tell you there's a few areas, I mean, quite a few that look a lot different than what I see.
Well,
is it
they may look different, but also recognize that each of those towns has a different classification system.
Yep.
So we need to have one consistent, at least for existing land use, one consistent classification system. And we really need to use the same one that we used in 2007. So we can compare land use change between that time frame and this time frame. So it's not good practice to change the classification structure. And because by virtue of the fact that each of these towns have different systems that they use, we had to try and massage this to make this best fit the classification structure for the county as a whole. So I guess the question is it a problem in alignment of the classification, or is the classification blatantly wrong? So where it says residential, is it not residential? Those are the types of questions that need to get answered.
Okay, yeah, like I said, when I started this, the current land use is what's on the ground, and it's most of the towns, when you're dealing with something, know what's there and everything. But you keep kind of pointing me to where I was going to go on our next issue was trying to, and I understand what you're saying, you want to be consistent in that. And on the old comprehensive plan, we had every town's map was in there on what their vision of the future land use was. And now you're trying to put it all on one map.
For existing only.
And not for new or for future.
No, future land use is an entirely separate discussion from what we're having now.
Okay.
Yep.
See, the problem I'm having is that Northwest Regional Planning did all of these for all the towns. I don't think any town did not have Northwest. So if you take Bass Lake, Edgewater, Sand Lake, and the tribe, Elcio, they was all done in the same format.
No, they weren't done in the same format. They were done in
They were
each
done
in
at
a different.
yes, they were.
No, they were done in different formats. They used different classification
No,
systems.
they didn't. No, I'm sorry, I was there.
Yeah, they did. They did use
It was
different.
all under the same grant. We all did it at the same time together.
No, I'm talking about the plan updates, the updates from those communities that we've worked on internally.
I'm talking about the original existing.
Oh, I don't know about the original. I'm just
That's what we're looking
referring to
at
the
here.
update.
The current original.
Because some of these towns have updated their comprehensive plans since 2007.
We have.
And we've worked with some communities on those updates. Yeah. But that's where I'm referring to the differences in the classification structure. It's within those updates.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I have a prior obligation I need to run to. I'd like to be excused from the meeting.
sure.
And Kelly will be filling in for secretarial duties, and she'll be running the share screen monitor here as well.
Okay, all right, Kelly, you're on. All right,
Good,
so,
Kelly.
so looking at it, yeah, I mean, you're using the same classifications that were used on the county's original one. And the
Correct.
towns have all gone off on their own, some of them doing their own updates. We've done 2 of them at our town level, but you guys did both our maps, but I'm sure other towns did, like you said. So, Jason, what are we looking at doing that on this then?
Well,
What's our input on this then as a
to
committee?
identify, I guess, to identify where there's inaccuracies. If there are blatant inaccuracies, then we want to try and remedy those and get this as close as we can to what's on the ground, what's actually there.
Good evening.
So then I guess my follow-up question would be if we sent it like to the town of Bass Lake and we have a different use identified, we'd want them to update it, or, because I don't think, I mean, Phil and I could take the map of Bass Lake and probably do it in an hour. So
Yeah, if you have someone that has knowledge of that community, that's the best tool. That's the most helpful.
So would you suggest we send the section of the map with the town enlarged to them to have them review it or look at it or give us input, or?
Well, what we could do is actually produce a different map for each town,
Okay.
just so it's an actual map for that community. And then that could be distributed to them.
Okay, so would you guys be up for doing that? Sending a letter explaining what you're looking for the town to do and send them their map and give them, like at their next meeting, so they'd have to get it on their agenda for next month if we can, for their town meeting, or they're probably gonna, like Bass Lake, it'll come in, they'll give it to the planning committee and then they'll have to go to the town board. So,
No, we wouldn't.
I would just turn it over to the
Committee.
plan commission and let them do it.
Mr. Chairman, the problem is that, for example, you and I know a great deal about Bass Lake. Kay knows everything there is about Round Lake.
Yeah.
yep,
From upside down to backwards. From driving through, I have just a view on 63 of the town of Lenroot, and I have no idea what's up in the northwest corner.
I agree with you, yeah. So where do we go?
Sit here and approve a current plan, which I don't have any idea is right or wrong, because I don't have any input from there, unless I'm gonna go up and drive it, but I'm not gonna do that. So,
No, that was my point. So you're in my court where I think we got to send this to somebody at each town, and
Great.
yes, you start sending it to a town level, then you're getting into the bureaucracy again. So, but we got to do it because, like I said, I mean, Hunter, I've been certain areas in there, being I'm on another committee that deals with zoning. So I've been up to a lot of places in there, but I know nothing about Hunter either. So I guess we got to send it to towns.
but may I make a point is because we're gonna do the future land use mapping. And rather than send two things to the towns, because we'll be lucky to get half of it back anyway,
Right.
but is just, and we haven't gotten into that discussion, how we're gonna handle future, last
Right.
use mapping, but we should send them both at the, is this what the future, send it down and let them send back to us, and then we can take that information and put it out for the ones that put it in, that return it, the ones that don't, shame on them.
No, I agree with that, that you got one, we're sending it to you. If we don't hear from you, we assume it's correct.
Well, we gotta
Um,
send the future too, though. This is what's.
Oh, yeah, I agree
Yeah,
that,
same
but we're
time.
getting ahead of ourselves, but yeah, I was gonna recommend that when we got to that one.
Yeah.
Because that one's more important to me than this one, but this one is also important, but that future one.
Yeah, I would, if we're gonna talk about future land use, I would do these at the same time. Back when and I don't wanna go too far into that next agenda item, but back when,
Well, okay, let's discuss both the agenda items at the same
Okay,
time
okay,
because they
okay.
overlap, but we can talk
Okay.
about it.
well, that's kind of my thinking, was to get the future land use maps when this plan was originally put together. It's a compilation of each town's future land use map. Now, in 2021, we have some updated future land use maps from some communities in Sawyer County. Others, we do not. So we have two ways of approaching this, and I'll give you two examples. In Douglas County, we sent it out to each community.
Okay.
So what we did was we sent them their future land use map from the previous plan and said, do you want to make changes to this? If so, identify what those are and provide them back to us by a specified date.
Yep.
Approach two, in Iron County, the county planning committee did it unilaterally with zero input from the towns. They just, as a committee, they generalized the classification structure, sort of blobs, if you will, and didn't seek any input from the communities. Now, that was the way they decided to approach it. My perspective was the Douglas County example was better because I had folks from those towns contacting me then for further clarification. We talked about updating the plan, how they can update their plan, and it just generally made things more cohesive. So
No, I
that would
can-
be my recommendation, to approach it that way, that we send them an existing land use map for verification and then a future land use map for verification and or revision.
Yep. I
And
agree
this would be
totally.
just for those, okay, just for those towns that have not completed this exercise and don't have plans that are in compliance. So that compliance issue brings up a whole nother question that's invariably going to come up in this discussion.
Yep.
So we will have towns that say, hey, we developed a plan back when, I don't know, sometime previously, and either didn't realize or whatever the case, that plan needed to be updated every 10 years. By statute, that plan is no longer compliant with Chapter 66.1001. So for them, it's an internal question for that community, not for the Sawyer County Planning Committee,
Right.
but for that community to say, hey, do we need to go through a process internally or whatever the case may be to update this to make it compliant? And so it may actually get a couple communities in the county that haven't already initiated that process to maybe look at putting it on the books or maybe moving forward with it.
And I think unless somebody's done it, well, we've updated ours every 5 years. We did a full one at 10 years and we did just update in every 5 years in our town. But we did a total redo after 10 years. But this issue on the future land use is so important and it's come up recently on numerous items, mainly dealing with zoning, but campgrounds, new campgrounds, the Hayward Golf Course, that one just came up recently in the town of Hayward and the town of Bass Lake. It splits the two. Campgrounds are allowed in it's ag, but none of the residents around it wanted it, and so they all got it. It was in both towns' future land use, that was recreational public use land. It's a little chunk of it, but a lot of residents were saying, well, we didn't even know that, and why is that in our future land use plan and stuff like that. So I think I agree with your input that if they're out of compliance, they can update a map and you can talk them into redoing their plan, which is a good idea because it does come up in every one of these towns. But I think we just send it to all of them. And if they, well, like you said, if you just did one, I don't know,
Yep.
have you done anyone in Sawyer County recently in the last year or two? Or?
Yes, yeah, we did Town of Hayward, Town of Round Lake, Spider Lake. We're working on one for Draper. There may be another one in there as well, but
So
I know.
you guys got a chunk of them already done.
Yep, yep.
So those should be easy. It's just the ones, and I know there's a couple towns that have not updated theirs.
Right,
But-
right. And we're currently working on an update with the city of Hayward. So, we'll have, and, oh boy, I'm trying to think. There's so many of these going on right now. So yeah, suffice it to say, we've got a good chunk of the county already covered, if you will, with communities that have already gone through the update process. So the group that really is left, it's not, at least it's not every town. So it certainly makes this manageable. In Douglas County, we only had, I think, 2 towns that had updated their documents and were in compliance.
Okay.
And that really drove home the need for local updates. And I think it brought a lot of communities sort of into the fold and got them moving forward on it.
Okay.
So yeah, I think this is a good approach. If they don't respond, then the question is, well, what do we do? Do we just use the information they provided in 2010 and say that this is just going to carry forward?
That's all you can do.
That
Yeah.
would be my suggestion.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we have
Thank you.
the Northwest Regional Planning put together the existing and with a letter explaining all that, everything Jason said, put it into my motion. And we'll send it out to them to get back at a drop dead date certain. And
So you want to have them send it to the ones that are out of compliance?
no,
All
every
towns?
town. You got to send it to every town.
Every town,
Okay.
every town.
Every
Just
town.
in case they want to make changes, or
Yeah.
they have made changes, but just haven't updated their plan yet, but they have it.
Right.
We look at ours as a living document in Bass Lake, that we keep changes we make in the book until our update, and then we put them all in with you guys.
I would
So,
like to second that motion, Mr. Chair.
Yep. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, so I guess the motion is to have Jason put the letter together with the current and future land use map explaining what we're looking for them to do and send it to the towns and give them a time certain. I guess we're looking at probably, we gotta hopefully get them back. We're January, in March sometime, I guess would be my best guess.
Is that what you want to shoot for? I think we did in Douglas County, we did 45 days, I want to think. So we had time for them to get it on their next agenda. We could do 60 days just to give them a couple meetings perhaps to do this.
I know it's
I think 60 days is better because of COVID and people are doing remote and it's hard to get together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
some towns are having
that
minimal
said-
meetings.
Yeah, that said, that was one of the things I heard from communities in Douglas County, that it was just hard for them to get together to actually go through this exercise. So yeah, I think it's a good idea to be cognizant of that.
Yeah, and it's hard to do something like this remotely on a map, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, do we want to shoot for 60 days in your motion, Phil?
May 1st.
May 1st?
Well, by the time he gets this out, it's not going to get out there till February.
Right,
And the towns all have separate,
yeah,
so you got February all the way to March, and then that gives them 30 days or I guess,
yeah, May 1st.
April 1st then.
I
April,
agree with May 1st.
May 1st, I'm thinking with COVID and everything going on, I'm thinking more like May 1st probably is better too. Jay probably won't like that. This is
You can do ours.
long yet. We want to be accurate and get everyone's input. So, all right. So Phil's motion is to work, you have Jason work on getting this out to the towns, the current and future for update and get the information back to us by May 1st. Otherwise, we're going to use what we had in the plan prior, what they had in the plan before.
Chairman,
Yes.
I don't know the protocol, but this individual has a question.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Question for you, Chairman. In the map here, notice this previously, why is Round Lake identified as split right down the middle of the lake? Why wouldn't Round Lake be over here where Highway K is and all that be the city or township of Round Lake over along with Highway B separating it? So you take K and B going across, creating that L there, and then wherever it would come up, you know, depending on what those individuals out there who represent Round Lake and
That's, pardon me,
it kind of seems like the town of Hayward doesn't look to become, kind of seems like the town of Hayward is picking on more than what we need. If I can speak for them, I would say we're picking on more.
excuse me. Hey, excuse me. We're not looking at the details at the map right now. I understand your input, but this map is accurate and it's what's been around. So we're gonna have to move on. It's not a relative point for what we're doing right now.
It is somewhat relative when the map doesn't exactly got these lines here, doesn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, it's not.
Here, it's one of these smaller lakes.
That represents.
Can we move on to a vote?
No, I noticed that. I've always questioned that.
That's fine.
It's my first, I've been a carpenter for years, but it's my first time doing that. Or not my first, I've noticed that with some of these maps that the lines are not where they should be.
There's different ways of doing it. It's not an issue that we're looking at right now. This is a separate issue that you're bringing up. So we're gonna have to move on. There's a motion on the floor, so there's no other public input on this. So the motion by Phil is to, again, have Jason put the town's map together with their future and current, and put a May 1st reply by date. And I'd suggest you put in the letter that if we don't hear back from you, we're going to use your map that is currently in there to get them to get off the dime. So I guess with that, I would,
Mr. Olson,
yes,
I don't
Linda.
know if you're actually wanting that to be part of the motion, but I think that thinking about maybe a town down here, that if they feel that it's just going to stay the same, if they don't do anything, they won't do anything.
Okay.
Amen.
All right. We'll leave my last little note out of there that I added, and we'll send it out with the May 1st deadline, and then we'll decide with what we get back. What to do then.
Call the vote.
Yes, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
All
Till March,
opposed?
okay?
Hearing none. Motion
The time period, 5-month time period for the motion. No, I know, but I'd like to change that if I could. A 5-month time period, a very reasonable amount of time for the motion.
Who's talking?
I was, sir, Timothy James Cotterill, local citizen of
Oh,
Hayward,
okay,
Wisconsin.
as Jay mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, I let you speak twice now, but they're both kind of off point, and the public comment section is at the beginning. So if you have comments that you want to bring up from what we're discussing tonight, you're going to have to put them together and bring it to the beginning of the next meeting for public comment, because you're getting off base on the format. This is a posted meeting that we have to follow what's on the agenda, and you're bringing up issues that are off the agenda. So that's my ruling. So we're going to move on to the agenda to.
I understand what you're saying, Chairman. I think they are relevant to what you're speaking on.
But I made a ruling they're not right now. for
I
what
know,
we're
and I
discussing
apologize. I
and doing.
apologize for interrupting. I was just,
Thank you.
All right, next up, So we took care of 4 and 5. That is being put off for more information. And number 6 is the future land use mapping for discussing what we want to do about including a farmland preservation overlay. That one, I think we might want to table that one till next month when Jay is back in the meeting. He has most of the information on it. He kind of gave me a few highlights when we put the agenda together. But for me to claim an expert on what he's looking for or asking to do, I think would be better to wait for Jay next month.
Mr. Olson, could we
Yes,
maybe
Linda.
ask Kelly? I would think Kelly would know. If she's able to explain it, I'd like to get a little background so I can think about it before the next meeting.
Well, I guess Jay's thinking is he's wanting the committee to look at if we want to include that in the comprehensive plan. It's an expensive undertaking to do. It was attempted once, and I was at the meetings, and I think you were also, Linda. There was 2 people when they sent it out to everybody in that for interest in it. One person, farmer, said he was interested, and another one said he'd like to have more information. And Dale undertook that thing, I forget how many years ago, but that was when we went through and they tried to incorporate it all into the plan, and then they ran into, you were going to have so many non-conforming uses in the zone district that then they were looking at, you're going to have to do an overlay. And then Jay started giving me details on how many departments and what hoops we got to jump through, that the county was going to have to outlay a lot of money, 5 figures probably, to even get going on it, and whether there's a benefit or not. Basically it comes down to, it sounds good on paper, farmland preservation is kind of what's been out there, but when you actually look at it, somebody's got to actually do something to get the credit. You got to spend money to get money back, and there's other options available for funding. So Jay was going to go through some of all that stuff. I just got kind of a 30,000 foot synopsis. And like I said, I was at the meetings, and I know Phil and Linda were at when this all started, when Dale was doing it. And then last year or 2 years ago, they put it right back where it was and kind of said, we got to re-examine this. So,
Well, see, that's why I thought that this was possibly on the agenda, because now we're maybe ready to move forward. And I know at that time, probably both Kelly and I were attending some webinars on this. So being that Kelly's there tonight, if she has something to add, I would like to hear it.
oh, Kelly, would you like to add anything?
I guess that's a no.
Or
She's muted.
you got to unmute yourself.
Mr. Chair, as you stated, Jay is not here.
Yep.
Got the information. I think I agree with you that even though Kelly is there, this should be tabled for now.
Yep. Okay. Well, would you like to make a motion on that?
Okay, I will make a motion that we table number 6, future land use and mapping be tabled till.
No,
What?
not the future land use.
No,
No.
just 6A.
Preservation.
6A, yes.
Preservation. Yeah.
Yeah, 6A.
Which says future land use mapping, but we're doing 6A is where we are.
Okay,
So,
I apologize. I didn't read it correctly.
yep. She caught it. Good catch.
Yes, thank you.
Is there a second to table the 6A, the discussion on the farmland preservation overlay, till our next meeting when Jay can be present to present his info?
Second.
All right, second by Phil. Okay, I guess I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, I guess it's been so long, we kind of muddled through that, but I think our next meeting will be a little better when we get information back, but we're gonna end up having to wait till Jason and Jay can get together and tell us when we have enough information to meet again from the letters we're sending out on the action and the maps. We get either one back sooner or whatever, I guess, otherwise. I don't know that we can look for when our next meeting is till we get that information back, is my feeling, so.
Well, for the department heads, Mr. Chairman,
Yep,
for the department heads, that shouldn't, if they get that out relatively soon, since there's no interaction with people outside of the county to speak up, I think that will come back relatively soon. The big one will be when we get the stuff back for the maps, and that I almost believe, hopefully, things are calmed down enough that we can meet as a group, because I'm pretty half blind looking at this, so.
no, that's what I was saying, that we can't discuss when our next meeting will be till Jay lets us know he has the information back, and I agree. The action plan will be back soon, and then we gave them a May 1st to get it back on the map. So if we get something in the meantime, I'll have Jay, when Jay lets me know, we'll send out an email and see when people can meet again to discuss whatever's next on our agenda. Is there anything, Jason, that after these two items, is there anything else we can do in the meantime, or are we kind of stuck till we get those?
I think we're, largely going to be stuck, at least in terms of moving the vision and action parts forward. One thing that and I'll have to check and verify if we've done this or not, but we've completed so much of the plan narrative. I don't know, Emily, are you on okay? Can you hear, are you still here?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. So, Emily, can you update me? Have we updated the narrative information on the website? I thought we just put the maps out there.
Nope.
All 8 of the elements are also on the website.
Okay. So that's the other thing, is taking a look and just making sure that we're vetting the narrative that we've put together, making sure that there aren't any errors in that information. And that's one thing that I suppose you could probably look at as a group while we're waiting for feedback from the department heads and the land use information from communities.
Could you, I have it, you guys sent that out 3 months
The
ago,
link
I
is
think.
also in the agenda.
Yeah, so
where
all they got to do is go to the Northwest Regional and go down to Sawyer County, and you can click it, and all 10 items are on, well, 8 items are on your web page, so we can go through them there.
Yeah.
I started reading through them, and yeah, if we can, we'll put that, Kelly, if you can, I guess when I put the agenda together, I'll talk to Jay, but we'll probably want to have people go through like section 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll discuss it at our next meeting type thing, is maybe what I'm thinking.
Okay.
They're not a long read.
Right.
Okay. All right, I guess that's where we stand then. So if you get a chance, jump on their page, and like I said, there was a link. Well, if you go there when you were looking to get the map, it's on the same page as that. So you can go through and start reading through the updated verbiage. The charts are all updated, and see if everything jives, all right?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mark.
I just wanted to say that you did a fine job keeping everything under control this evening. Thank you.
Well, virtually, it's virtually impossible virtually, but say virtually too many times, but yeah. No, thank you. All right, then I guess we will adjourn. Would anyone like to make the motion? Come on, Phil.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Yep, Mark.
You don't need to, you can just adjourn.
I like letting
Adjourn, Mark.
We're adjourned.
Power.
We're adjourned.
Goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.